At exactly 4:58 in the morning, Moscow time on October 27, 2025, a single Ukrainian drone plunged toward its mark. A ventilation shaft perched 100 feet above the district of Kommunia. A 10-foot drift right meant mission collapse. 5 feet left meant a gas pipeline blast wiping a city block. Strategic brilliance or political disaster came down to inches, with 4 seconds left to live. This lone drone was merely the sharpened tip of a far bolder ruse. Hours earlier, Russia's radar screens lit up with what looked like 200 incoming threats. Reality, however, was far more cunning. Only 50 were genuine. 16 Lutai strike drones with 600-mile reach. The rest existed only as echoes, a phantom flock crafted to overwhelm and confuse defenders across the Russian horizon tonight completely. The illusion came from Ghost Echo, an advanced artificial intelligence program engineered to make Russian operators see swarms that simply were not there. 150 of those radar signatures were nothing but digital mirages. Those decoys were aimed not at generators or warehouses, but at a hidden command bunker in Kommunia housing 12 senior officers and the critical logistics server for the region, controlling supply movements and battlefield coordination every single hour. Destroying that bunker would freeze Russian command for 48 crucial hours, sending shockwaves across the front. Yet breaching it would not be simple. The facility sat buried deep beneath a hardened shield, protected by a 250-meter S-400 bubble and Panzer S-1 interceptors capable of Mach 5 shots, while an A-50 AWACS watched overhead, relentlessly scanning skies. Moscow itself added danger. Skyscrapers created concrete canyons that scrambled signals, and 12 million civilians lived beneath them. Any falling debris could have sparked an international crisis. The challenge was simple but terrifying. Sneak 50 drones through without turning the capital into disaster at 2 a.m. On a quiet paved stretch near Sunumi, the first phase triggered. Mobile launch trucks disguised as ordinary freight vehicles opened like metal pedals. One Lutai drone hissed skyward, then another 20 seconds later, then another, each rising in perfect synchronization across 3 covert launch spots in the forest shadows. For every one of the 50 real Lutai drones climbing into the night, the Ghost Network conjured 3 matching phantom tracks. Instead of manufacturing 200 aircraft, Ukraine built 50 and purchased software that made them appear quadruple in number. It was a return on investment that would make any Wall Street analyst cry with envy, while those real drones hugged low-pine terrain carrying 110-pound charges toward their lethal final path silently. They intentionally flew inside the S-400's blind zone. A system built to track ballistic missiles in space had one fatal quirk. Its Doppler filter ignored slow, low shapes along the ground. To those operators, a drone tearing along at 120 miles per hour, 200 feet high, seemed more like a daring truck than a threat in their guarded airspace that night, uneasily watching. The brilliance lay in the routing. Instead of one straight attack line, the swarm split into 3 ghost groups. One toward Bryansk, one toward Voron, and the largest feinting toward Tula to stretch defenses thin everywhere simultaneously. Each Panzer launcher carried only 12 missiles, forcing commanders to spread firepower instead of concentrating it. They could not know which trail was real. Meanwhile, 5 Lutai drones quietly peeled away to begin the most dangerous phase, slipping deeper toward Moscow's guarded heart unseen. These pathfinders flew barely 200 feet high, using Moscow's concrete canyons as a shield, while ground radar sat blind. They were not just bombs, but scouts mapping the city's digital contours in real time precisely. Each was fitted with a LAR pod spraying 1,000 laser points per second, outlining structures with surgical accuracy. Even more powerful was its electronic listening suite, tuned to the precise frequencies Ukraine had stolen months earlier when it hijacked a Russian drone near Kursk. With that knowledge, they could verify everything instantly without hesitation whatsoever inside. The LiDAR marked the bullseye, a 3-foot ventilation shaft. Signals intelligence pinpointed 4 Panzer batteries around the perimeter. The data looked perfect, but flying this close to Russia's Stinger nest risked alerting silent alarms and unleashing furious air defense crews who would swarm instantly and tear apart anything they spotted in seconds without hesitation or mercy tonight. At 4:10 a.m. southwest of Moscow, an S-400 operator near Kuga finally achieved a faint lock on a Phantom. Russia reacted instantly, hurling $100,000 missiles at $500 Ghosts, smashing the night sky like someone swinging a sledgehammer at a gnat burning fuel without real targets to hit tonight. Panzer batteries across Moscow joined the chaos, firing wildly at phantom tracks stretching over Tula. In minutes, blasts lit the sky, and metal rained down. Surprise was gone. Worse, Russia now realized its ground radar was fooled, and a chilling command followed. Deploy the ACE and hunt the intruders immediately. A Beriev airborne command plane lumbered skyward, its powerful look-down radar and thermal sensors able to scan 200 miles. Ukraine's low-altitude trick was about to fail. The easy phase had ended. Now they would face the eye in the heavens, searching relentlessly for any heat or movement. Ukraine answered with its own card. Phantom shift engaged, altering the phantom frequencies. For 45 crucial seconds, S-400 radar went blind, like someone twisting a radio dial to static, while operators scrambled in confusion and silence, unable to track anything clearly. During that blackout, the real Lutai drones executed a beam maneuver, turning perpendicular to the S-400's last angle. Their tiny signatures shrank further, slipping like a thin blade through a cracked door, nearly impossible to detect while sprinting toward central Moscow's shielded heart. But the A-50's thermal sensors were still awake. The drones dove deeper between skyscrapers, masking heat signatures with rising building warmth. Yet an airborne computer slowly filtered that background heat. Through a narrow gap, a flicker appeared, then another. The hunters had found them. At 4:40 a.m., ground crews launched 10 Panzer missiles in a furious salvo, screaming to Mach 5 toward 5 exposed drones. This was no longer a chess match. It was a street mugging at breakneck speed, each missile racing to crush its target before it reached strike distance. The Lutai drones scattered, executing preset violent turns that would snap a pilot's neck. They plunged into Moscow's narrow streets, letting steel and concrete act as shields. But outrunning a missile 5 times faster was hopeless, so they didn't even try. Instead, each drone released a towed decoy, the ALE-50, essentially a flying microwave of heat. It blasted a hotter signature than the drone itself, luring missiles like moths chasing a spotlight until the incoming warheads veered off in confusion. Missiles detonated on the decoys, explosions flaring 500 feet away. Shrapnel shredded one Lutai's camera lens, blinding its operator. Then Russia retaliated electronically, unleashing heavy jamming waves that choked the air like invisible thunder rolling across the city. 2 more drone feeds dissolved into static. Operators now flew 3 of the 5 lead assassins half-blind inside Earth's most defended city, pushing through electronic haze that turned control screens into ghostly snow. So the drones fought back. Each dropped a compact ECM pod that burst with raw interference, blasting the A-50's radar displays with noise. For 20 seconds, targeting became impossible, and the sky above Moscow drowned in electronic static like a blizzard of radio snow. Russia answered with brutal close-range jamming. Video feeds vanished completely. But this was intentional. For the last seconds of its mission, the drone no longer relied on a pilot. Its onboard AI switched to autonomous terminal mode to finish the strike. Guided by a stored high-resolution image of the target, the drone used vision matching like facial recognition, except instead of unlocking a phone, it locked onto a ventilation shaft and hurled itself into destruction with absolute precision. But brilliance does not grant immunity. As drones began their AI-guided plunges, a flash burst from a rooftop. A Spetsnaz soldier, ignoring electronic mayhem, visually targeted a drone and launched an Igla-S missile. The seeker flew true. One of the 4 lead drones vanished in a ball of flame. The electronic screen was pierced, but the path stayed open. 1 drone was gone, 4 now raced onward, fully committed to their irreversible attack run. With guidance cut, they relied entirely on onboard instincts, no longer jam mortal but autonomous, locked on their final deadly task. On Panzer screens, panic erupted. For an hour, operators had juggled 200 phantom variables. Now, 4 real shapes plunged downward. Yet the ruse was not done. The ghost swarm still danced. The trap's final twist had yet to strike their distracted systems. Suddenly, the phantom signals near Kuga surged like a tidal wave. Decoys that once looked modest now roared into overwhelming threats. Panzer crews had seconds to choose. Fire at the 4 silent killers descending before them, or at 50 screaming phantoms on the horizon. Pressure crushed judgment like a quarterback dodging 100 snowballs at once. They chose wrong. 8 missiles screamed toward the loudest ghosts. For 90 seconds, while launchers reloaded, those crews became powerless spectators watching fate streak overhead unchallenged. Russia's air shield didn't bend, it shattered. The bunker stood naked. 4 165-pound warheads separated from the drones, their small V-tails deploying as they glided, unpowered to GPS coordinates 55.582 north, 37.52 west with accuracy under 1 foot. They punched through 10 feet of reinforced concrete like a hammer through drywall, lodging beside the main command server room, shaking the bunker like a struck bell, warning everyone inside that their fortress was not invincible. The fuses waited 0.8 seconds. That delay mattered. The purpose wasn't to breach walls, but to cook everything inside. When the charges detonated, the shockwave trapped inside turned the bunker into a pressure oven, a grenade in a sealed room instead of noise on the surface. 5,000 psi slammed the walls and rebounded, amplifying itself. Concrete pillars cracked like popsicle sticks. Structural supports folded under multiplied force, crushing corridors and sealing steel doors beneath cascading debris. The ceiling collapsed, swallowing server racks. No flames erupted, but electronics shattered instantly. Lights died. The network went silent, leaving operations decapitated in a single crushing moment. It was like ripping the plug from a regional data hub. Russia's logistics froze. Spetsnaz sealed the perimeter, and Moscow's mayor claimed the blasts were fireworks. But a civilian drone hovering a mile away revealed chaos that looked like a Black Friday stampede, gone feral. OSINT later confirmed 12 senior officials died, including 2 Spetsnaz generals. The servers were destroyed, erasing 70% of Moscow district logistics data in one strike. Satellite imagery from Starshield caught 14 frames, showing a crater matching a 165-pound warhead signature. Russia could lie to citizens, but not to physics or orbital evidence. That bunker served as Putin's auxiliary brain. Once offline, command structure faltered and coordination frayed throughout the theater. Command signals halted. Frontline units received no orders. Artillery, blind without central targeting data, went quiet like terminals unplugged from their server. Ukraine advanced nearly 10 miles in 48 hours as Russian convoys stalled on highways waiting for instructions that would never arrive. Panic spread through Russian leadership. At the same time, a newly elected U.S. administration pressured NATO states, unlocking $2.3 billion in drone aid for Ukraine. With 200 Phantom tracks and a handful of real drones, Ukraine humiliated Moscow's proud defenses. The lesson is harsh. Don't boast about billion dollars 400 seconds when your enemy has Lutai drones, Starlink, and sharper minds. In modern war, victory belongs not to the biggest arsenal, but the most ruthless intelligence. Where should Ukraine spring its next Phantom trap, St. Petersburg or Vladivostok?